Marhaba! Welcome back to the Beginner's Bliss series, Arabic Alphabets, Part 3. In today's lesson, we will learn the next 8 Arabic alphabets. So let's dive in. The first letter today is called Ta. Ta. Letter Ta is pronounced with a fuller mouth, so the sound of Ta is a heavy sound. Ta, 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 ta. Now remember, whenever a letter is pronounced with a fuller mouth, the sound of that letter will be heavy or dense. Let's have a look at the formation and then we'll see that what happens if we don't pronounce thaw with a fuller mouth. So thaw's formation is just like the rest of the letters except for the middle part. So in isolated form, it is not connected to any other letter. In the beginning, it is connected to the letter after thaw. For the middle part, it is connected to both the letters, that is the letter before thaw as well as the letter after thaw. And for the end, thaw could be connected to the letter before it, or it could be in an isolated form like the rest of the letters. Now what happens is when thaw is not pronounced heavily, it becomes the letter ta, because the only difference in the sounds of these two letters is that ta is light and thaw is heavy. So it's ta, ta, thaw, thaw. So if you don't pronounce thaw heavily, the sound is going to make it look like we're reading the letter ta. So make sure you pronounce thaw with a fuller mouth. Let's have a look at the examples. The first example is طفل, طفل, which is a child. Here we see that thaw is connected to the letter after it. The second example is wasat, wasat, which is middle. Wasat, wasat, thaw is connected to the letter before it. That's it for thaw. Let's see what's next. It is the letter dha, dha. Letter dha also belongs to the family of letter tha. It is written just like tha except for the dot on it. And just like tha, its sound is also heavy. Dha, 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 dha. And the formation of dha is also exactly like the letter tha, that is, it is isolated in the first form. Then comes the beginning form, so it is connected to the letter after it, and in the middle one, it is connected to both the letters before and after it, and for the end, it is connected to the letter before it, and it could be in an isolated form as well. Now let's see what happens if we don't pronounce the letter dha with a fuller mouth. If you remember, we learned the letter dhal in part 2. Dhal, dhal. Now, if we don't read the letter dha with a fuller mouth, or we don't pronounce it with a fuller mouth, it becomes the letter dhal. So the one who is listening to you is going to think that you are reading letter dhal instead of dha, which would completely change the word or the meaning or the whole sentence. So make sure you always read letter dha with a fuller mouth. So this is dhal, dh, dha, dhal, dh, dha, dh. Let's go through the examples to understand the sound and formation of dha better. The first example is ظرف, 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 which is an envelope. ظرف. The second one is نظارة, نظارة. We see the dha here is connected to another letter, which is the letter alif. نظارة, which are a pair of glasses. So that's it for dha. Up next, we have the letter ayn. Ayn, ayn. We cannot compare the sound of this letter to the sound of any letter in any language, because we do not find this sound in any other language, at least to my knowledge. And even if this letter is found in another language, it does not sound the same. Now, the sound of ayn is a guttural sound made from the back of the throat, specifically from the pharynx. So it's ayn, ah, ayn, ah, ayn, ah. It's almost as if there is a constriction at the back of the throat. Ayn, ah. Now, this letter needs practice, and I think this shall be the hardest letter to be pronounced in the Arabic alphabets. Now let's see what happens if we do not pronounce ayn the way it is supposed to be. The first alphabet that we read was alif, and the sound of alif was a. And now the letter is ayn, a. The only way to read ayn incorrectly would be to make it sound like alif. So if I don't read ayn as a, it's going to sound like a, and that would be alif. Now let's see what happens if we mix the sound of ayn and a. The first word here is alam with ayn, alam, which is a flag. So it's alam, flag. But if we pronounce ayn incorrectly and make it sound like alam, without the guttural sound, it would become alam, which means pain. Now let's have a look at the examples and understand the formation of ayn and its sound. The first example is ayn, which means eye. One eye is called ayn. We see that ayn is connected to the letter after it. The next word is ma'rifa, which means knowledge or knowing something. Ma'rifa. Ayn here is connected to the letter before it as well as the letter after it, just like the letters ta and tha that we learned today in this lesson. And we're done with ayn. The next letter looks like the letter ayn with a dot on it. This letter is called ghayn. Now the sound of ghayn is gha, which is a heavy sound, so it is pronounced with a fuller mouth. Ghayn, gha. Ghayn also has a guttural sound, but not as deep as ayn. Ayn, ghayn, ayn, ghayn. Now there is another major difference between ayn and ghayn, and that is that ayn is not pronounced with a fuller mouth. So the sound of ayn is not heavy. I will read it again. Notice carefully. A, gha, a, gha. So ayn is not heavy, but ghayn is heavy. The formation of ghayn is just like ayn. In the middle of the word, it is connected on both sides. At the end, it could be connected or in an isolated form. And at the beginning, it is connected to the letter that is followed by ghayn. Let's have a look at the examples. So the first example is ghurab, which is a crow. Ghurab. Ghayn here is connected to the letter followed by it, which is the letter ra. Now, interestingly, we have completed all the letters in this word. Ghurab, ghayn, ra, alif, ba, ghurab. The second example is saghir. Now we see that the ghayn is at the middle of the word, so it is connected on both sides, that is to the letter before it, which is called sad. We have learned this letter, sad, ghayn, and then the next letter is ya, which we have not learned yet, but we will inshallah in part 4, which means small. Saghir, small. Ghurab, saghir. Next up is the letter fa. So finally we have a letter that does sound like a letter in English. Fa sounds like the F in word fun. Fa. And the formation of fa is like the letter zain. Fa is joined to the letter next to it when it comes at the beginning of the word, and when it is at the middle of the word, it is connected on both sides to both the letter before it and the letter followed by fa. And at the end, it could be connected or in an isolated form. This is a pretty easy letter. Let's have a look at the examples. Okay, so the first example is صفحة, صفحة, صفحة. صفحة is a page. Now here we see that fa is in the middle of the word, so it is connected on both sides. And both these letters are صاد and ha. صاد, ha. صفحة. The next example is feel, feel, which is an elephant. We see that fa is at the beginning of the word and it is connected to the letter after it. And that's it for fa. Alright, so the next letter is letter qaf. Qaf. Now this letter could be challenging because this could be confused with another letter that we have not learned yet, but I will compare the two once we have learned both the letters. The sound of qaf is q, q, qaf, q, qaf, q. So it is definitely a heavy sound. But where is this qaf produced from? It is produced at the back of the mouth, specifically from the back of the tongue. So the sound of qaf is pretty deep because it is literally produced by the deeper part of the mouth. Qaf, q, qaf, q. And the formation of qaf is that in an isolated form it is isolated, like the name suggests. At the beginning, it is connected to the letter next to it. At the middle, it is connected on both sides. At the end, it could be connected or in an isolated form. Let's have a look at the examples. The first example is qalb, qalb, which means a heart. Qalb, qalb. Qaf here is connected to the letter that is after qaf. And remember, this is not alif. This is another letter that we have not learned yet. And the next letter is ba. So, qalb. The next example is qitta, qitta, which is a cat. Qitta, which is a cat. Qaf here is connected to the letter after it, that is the letter ta that we just learned in this lesson. Qitta is a cat. Another interesting fact about the word qitta and cat is that cat is derived from the word qitta. And in ancient literal Arabic, a cat was called a qat. But now the word qitta is frequently used, so that's why I use qitta here. Alright, so the next and final letter for part 3 is kaf, kaf, kaf. And the sound of kaf is a very crisp sound. It's kaf, which is exactly like the sound of letter K in the word kite. Kaf, kaf. Now there is also a slight difference in the formation of this letter because when kaf is written in an isolated form, it is written this way. It also has a slanted S kind of a shape, but when it comes at the beginning of the word, it's without the S over it. Instead, you will see a dash, a slanted dash here. Same goes for the middle one. When kaf is connected to the letter before it as well as after it, we see that it looks just like the one at the beginning. But when kaf is written at the end, it looks like the isolated form, except that it is connected to the letter before it, and sometimes it's also in an isolated form and it will be the same, that is with a slanted S shape over it. So you have to remember this difference. Now this is the letter, kaf is the letter that I was talking about, that it could be mixed with qaf, the heavier sounding letter. I will show you an example, and it is a widely used example for these two letters. Now we see the word qalb here. qalb, which was an example for the letter qaf. Qalb, which is a heart. The second example is kalb, kalb, which is a dog. So if we mix the two sounds, the meaning could completely change. And it's not just for these two examples. There are many words in Arabic that could change its meaning based on the sounds of the letters. So qalb and kalb, qalb, qaf heavy, qalb, kalb light and crisp. Let's have a look at the examples for the letter kaf. Okay, so the first example is kitab, kitab, which is a book, kitab. We see that kaf is joined to the letter ta, and we have learned all these letters, kaf, ta, alif, ba, kitab. The next example is maktab, 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 which is an office. We see that kaf is at the middle of the word, and again the same shape as the beginning and the middle. Maktab, it is joined to the letter before it as well as the letter after it. So kaf, ta, ba. And we have not learned this letter yet, but we will in the next part, inshallah. And that's it for the letters in part 3. Alright, so now you have an activity to test yourself. You have to connect these letters to make 4 words. So the first word is غزال, which is a deer, the animal deer. غزال, غين, za, alif, lam. And remember, these are the letters that we have already learned in part 1, 2, and 3. The next word is faros, faros, which is a horse. Fa, ro, sin. The next word is غبار, غبار, which is dust. غين, ba, alif, ra. The last word is ظفر, ظفر, which is a fingernail. ظ, fa, ra. You will find the answers in the description below. Let me know how many of them have you gotten right in the comments. Subscribe for more. Ma salama.